So I just want to say hello and welcome to everyone who's come here today for STORYBOOM. We're so excited about this very unique program. And my name is Colette Phipps. I'm with the Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services, and I'm the Executive Director of our Livable Communities program. So livable communities are places where people can grow up and grow old with independence and dignity. So that is our mantra. So I'm bringing you greetings from the County Executive, George Latimer, and also from our esteemed Commissioner May Carpenter, who unfortunately could not be here today. STORYBOOM and our age-friendly collaborative are sponsoring this event today. We're so excited about it. And the one thing that I want to say to you is that under the umbrella of livable communities, we have all kinds of partners. And that's the reason why we're able to bring you these unique and innovative programs. So we want to thank all of our age-friendly collaborative members. Thank you so very much for what you do. So now I am charged to bring to the stage an incredible colleague. She is part of Livable Communities. Her name is Jennifer Schwartz Crawford. By the way, I've known her since she was a kid. But anyway, she's here. And she coordinated this event, so please give her a grand hand.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. I wanted to thank our age-friendly collaborative co-chairs, Deb Castle and Louise Chow. Louise will be one of our storytellers, so you'll get to know her in just a minute. I also wanted to let everybody know that Deb, Louise, and Ashley Pierce here at Westchester Community College are all Livable Communities coordinators. And if you're not sure what that means, see us afterwards at our Next Stage Network resource table, and we'll be happy to tell you all about it. But with not too much further ado, I would like to introduce now Danielle Dardashti, who will be emceeing our STORYBOOM presentation. So, Danielle Dardashti is CEO of Dash, a consultancy that helps companies utilize storytelling to achieve business results. And she's the co-founder of STORYBOOM, a live storytelling show based in White Plains. An Emmy Award winner and a Moth Story Slam champion, Danielle has just been awarded a fellowship by the Maimonides, thank you, Fund to produce an audio documentary series called The Nightingale of Iran. She started her career as an on-air TV reporter in Ohio, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then Atlanta. She's written and produced 6 television documentaries. She has held senior roles at major media companies, including Meredith Corporation and Tribune Publishing. Danielle and her husband are co-authors of 3 books for parents and teachers. They live in White Plains, and they have 2 college-age kids. Danielle, we're so happy to have you.
I want to thank Jennifer and Colette and everybody else who has already been mentioned this morning, Deb and Louise and everybody. But I also want to thank Michael Goldman, who made the introduction between me and Colette and everybody in this room. So thank you, Michael. As they mentioned, I'm the co-founder of STORYBOOM, and we have a show that happens every 2 months that's going to be similar to the show you're going to see today. If you're interested in getting on our email list, we have a sign-up sheet out there. You can find out more about STORYBOOM that way. Today, we have a very special show for you. We have 5 storytellers who are going to be sharing bounce-back stories with you. And when we say bounce-back stories, you know, the last few years have been hard for a lot of us and our organizations, and We are here. We are back here again in person with each other, and these stories are talking about hard times that these various individuals have been through. There are all kinds of obstacles. Some are talking about physical obstacles, health issues, and other kinds of physical obstacles. Others are talking about emotional challenges that they faced in their lives. Some of the experiences that they're going to be describing happened a really long time ago, and others are talking about things that happened really recently, during the pandemic. But each of these storytellers that you're going to hear from today, Heather, Kevin, Louise, Myra, and Dan, will each take us on a journey. They're going to take us on a journey and let us feel how it feels to walk in their shoes. We're going to get to experience a slice of life from their point of view. How it felt to go through the struggle and how it felt to bounce back. And that's what stories can do. They let us really feel how it feels to be someone else, and also how it feels to be someone different from us, but really understanding how, when it comes down to it, the emotions that we all feel are oftentimes very similar. Our first storyteller, Heather Miller, is the executive director of the Slater Community Center in White Plains. Heather is active in the community. She serves on several boards and has received a ton of community service awards. In her spare time, she is an accomplished writer and performer. In 2017, she wrote and directed the play Fire and No Desire. And recently, she performed as Harriet Tubman in a poetry piece that she wrote. Heather is originally from Jamaica. She lives in Mount Vernon, and she has one daughter, Joanne. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Heather Miller.
I love avocado. I really, really, really love avocado. So much so that on March 10, 2020, I see a circular advertising avocados, 10 for $5, 50 cents for an avocado. GPS, and I'm there at the supermarket. I look, it's just my car and another car. Strange, but I have a mission. I get out the car, my eyes burn. Strange again, but I run into the supermarket. I look around, and I'm feeling that strange sensation again. I look around, there's the cashier and me. Wait, what? I made it into the epicenter of COVID? Huh? Before I get over here, let me go get my avocado and some other stuff. And it wouldn't be the first time or the last time that I made it to that store, because that chemical that was burning had something to do. This was the cleanest, most safe store anywhere. March 11th, WHO, the World Health Organization, has declared COVID an epidemic. I'm everywhere, getting my nails done, seeing my dentist, seeing my doctor, stocking up, hoarding. I'm everywhere, friends, birthday party, basketball game. I'm just everywhere and anywhere. I go back to that supermarket on March 12th and March 15th. March 15th. That night, I don't feel well. I make it to my bed. I just crawl into my bed and I'm shaking all night long. I can't stop the shakes. I'm grabbing the headboard, I'm grabbing the pillow, I'm grabbing anything that could just stop me from shaking, shaking, shaking. I must have fallen asleep because the phone awakens me. Hello? Hello, Ma, you don't sound well. I don't feel well. What's happening? What's going on? I shake. I'm shaking all night long. I just don't feel, I don't know what's going on with me. Have you taken your temperature? No. Go take your temperature. I can't get out of bed. Ma, get out of the bed. You must get the thermometer, get water, get Tylenol, and keep them by your bedside. She does this while she's 225 miles away, calling me every minute to check in. She's my doctor, my nurse, and she has no medical training. I'm the sickest I've ever been in my life. And I'm home alone, with only COVID as my constant companion. I speak to my doctor, and he says it sounds like the flu. I said, no, it's not the flu. I have what Chris Cuomo has. Chris has been documenting his COVID journey in his basement on CNN. I cannot be tested because I'm not dying. Cousin Maxine comes over and she says, we're going to force them to test you. So she drives with me, behind me, not in the same car because COVID. So she drives behind me to Glen Island Park where they have set up the testing site. They turn me away. And I drive back in tears, going home, rejected. Day 11, my temperature and my blood pressure have spiked in numbers I don't recognize. And I crawled into bed because I believe that this is the day I die. It's not from COVID, from high blood pressure. I do not die, but others do. And today in this auditorium, I want to acknowledge those who made the ultimate sacrifice. I survived COVID in the amazing way. You see, COVID, it gave me nothing but time. My creative juices flowed. I started to write. I was writing more. I wrote poetry, which is something I could never do. I created an art piece. Wow. No artistic bone in my body. I made this and I call it Over the Moon because it looks like a moon. But I was over the moon that I survived COVID and that I could produce that piece. I stopped running. Stopped chasing meetings, stopped chasing deadlines. I just stopped chasing everything. You know one of the things I stopped chasing? Avocados. Because that beast COVID, it took away my taste for avocado.
Including basketball coach, high school English teacher, executive in the insurance industry, computer industry. He was born in California, raised in the Bronx, and has lived in Westchester for several years. He and his wife, Rosemary, have been married for 49 years and have 3 sons. In his family, Kevin was always known as the Irish storyteller. So, a warm welcome for our Irish storyteller, Kevin Cronin.
Thank you. I'm just going to take a moment to take a breath after that last story. Fantastic. Unbelievable. Wonderful. It's 1991, and my wife and I have taken our 3 sons out of elementary school. At the time, they were 10, 7, and 4. We rented out our house, traveled to Europe, and bought a motorhome, where we followed the sun north in the wintertime, up into the Scandinavian countries, up into the Arctic Circle. When the sun started to go south, we turned and went south as well. We traveled through Europe down into North Africa. After almost a year of doing this, great adventure, we sold our RV, our motorhome, and we flew to Southeast Asia. And in Southeast Asia, we backpacked. We used public transportation. Each of us had a backpack. The youngest guy's backpack held stuffed animals. That was his charge. It's in Southeast Asia that my story takes place. We're on the island of Lombok, which is in Indonesia, one island south of Bali. We're living in this very simple bamboo framed, palm frond coated cottage. It's on a pristine beach. Hardly anybody there at all. It's on the Indian Ocean. There's hardly ever a footprint in the sand. The water is warm, the sun is bright. We're just in heaven. On this particular morning, my wife and my oldest son had some things that they had to do. And that left me with my two little guys. And it being such a beautiful day, we went down to the beach, down to the Indian Ocean. There was nobody on the beach, save two Indonesian beach vendors, one selling t-shirts, the other one selling decoratively carved fruit, and they're down at the far end of the beach. I bend down to put sunblock on my tow-headed little boys, always looking to protect the two youngest. I don't have life preservers for them because we're backpacking, but I do have little swimmies, little inflatable swimmies. I blow them up and I push them up on each of its arms. And we go into the ocean. We're not going to go very far because this is the Indian Ocean. It's treacherous, noted for riptides and currents. We wade out a little bit. We're bouncing in the waves. I'm just so happy. Here I am with my two littlest guys. So cute, so precious. Suddenly, the bottom disappears from my feet. And I know what's happened is we've floated out over the edge of a coral bank. I've gone from 6 feet of water to maybe 100 feet of water. We'll do what we have to do. Three of us together, we start trying to swim towards the beach. It's impossible. The drift is taking us slightly to the right, and the undertow is taking us slightly out. Not a great deal, but it's too strong for me to overcome. Remember, I have the two boys. Remember, just know, I have the two boys in my hands, one in one hand, one in the other hand. All I can use are my legs. I can't use my hands. All I can do is help them stay up. And we went from, a father and his two jolly kids to three people in big danger. So I know I have to do something. What do I do? How do I handle this? I know that if I leave one son floating, I surely can get one son in, and maybe, just maybe, I can get back out to get the second son. Who would I choose? Which one would I choose? There's no way I'm leaving either one of these boys together. We can just continue to, float. Maybe we'll hit a small piece of coral outcropping and I'll get my footing again. Chances of that happening are very slim. Thoughts are just racing through my head. My heart is pounding. I don't want to lose my boys. I know that there are these vendors on the beach, and I yell and bellow to them to come and help. The reason I've been somewhat hesitant to do this is that Indonesians are island people who are deathly afraid of the water, given their history of tsunamis and other disasters. Generally, most of these islanders do not swim, and my sense is that these two men, young men though they are not swimmers. I tell the boys, be calm, everything will be okay. They trust me. They believe Dad's got this covered. I don't have this covered. The vendors hear my cry, they jump up, but instead of running towards the water, they run away. And I'm thinking, I hope they're going to get some more help or something. Or again, I tell the boys, be calm, something will happen, help will come. We continue to tread water, we're doing okay. A minute or two later, the two Indonesian men re-emerge from the forest that they had run into. Now, each is carrying a very long bamboo pole, about 20, 25 feet long. And I noticed that in the bamboo pole, where there are holes, they've taken little pieces of an old plastic flip-flop and stuck it into the holes, thereby making each of the poles airtight. The two of the men come into the water. The first man goes out to about his chest high. He stands, he plants himself in the water. We're out there. He's out now up to about chest high. He extends out with one pole towards us. The second man shinnies along the pole. He gets to the end of the pole. He now grabs onto it with this hand, and with his other hand extends the second pole out to us. It's about 10 feet shy of where we are. I say to the boys, this is our chance. This is when we can get in. This is where we can make it. The three of us together push ourselves towards the pole. We get to the pole. I hand the smallest one, Liam, who's now just turned 6, hand him off to the first pole. Intuitively, he just knows what to do, takes his way down to the first man, passes over him, goes to the second man. Connor, take him across onto the pole, down along the pole, past the first man, then to the second man. They're all now in shallow water. I then can come in and help the two Indonesian men in. We're safe. We're on the beach. Of course, I'm very happy that I never had to make any really radical decision, and go without saying that for the next week that we were there, we bought every t-shirt and every piece of clothing that these men had to offer. Thank you.
I just want to say that besides this incredible story that Kevin just shared with all of us about what happened years ago, Kevin has overcome incredible issues and struggles health-wise in the last few months, and we are all thrilled.
I'm a cancer survivor.
He's a cancer survivor, and he has made a bounce back of incredible sorts, and we're thrilled to have had him here with us today. We are all going to take a 10-minute intermission, quickly grab a drink or a snack or go to the bathroom. There are refreshments in the room across the hall, and we'll see you back here in 10 minutes for the rest of the stories. Thank you. First 2 stories, wow. So our first 2 storytellers talked about physical adversities that they experienced. The next 3 focus on emotional obstacles, struggling with who you are and who others think you should be, or discovering something painful about your family's past. Louise Chow is a retired teacher and administrator. She co-chairs the Age-Friendly Collaborative through Westchester County's Livable Communities and Westchester Jewish Community Services. Louise loves spending time with her husband, her 2 daughters, her son-in-law, and her 3 grandsons. And she says working with seniors is her way of paying back the loving support that she got from her mom, dad, and grandmother. I'm thrilled to introduce Louise Chow.
Thank you, Danielle. So, as a child growing up in Queens, I was blessed in many ways. My parents and younger brothers were healthy. We had a modest but lovely home. I enjoyed summers at camp and in the Catskills. And we went to the city for Broadway shows and the ballet. And like most kids, I would ask my parents about their childhoods. Well, my mom regaled us with stories about her life. Born in America, she grew up with her 5 siblings. They had a pretty typical Depression-era childhood. And she had so many aunts, uncles, and cousins, it was a challenge to keep track of them. We were an extremely close family. I was very close to my grandmother and with the rest of the family. On my dad's side, I never met my grandparents. He had 1 sister who was living in Israel and 2 sisters who lived near us in New York. They always seemed secretive. I knew very little about my dad's childhood in Zambrano, Poland, and I kind of felt like they were pieces of a puzzle that were missing. My dad mentioned he had 3 younger siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. When I asked how they died, my aunt said, "What difference does it make?" I thought, what an odd comment. Another time, my aunt was showing us pictures, 2 pictures that we had from back in Poland. And in one picture, there was a little girl standing on her mother's lap, and she was wearing a white fuzzy coat with pom-poms, something like I would wear and my daughters would have worn. They told me that was my cousin. I wondered, what kind of toys did my cousin have? What was she like? Did she play indoors or outdoors? Did she like to play games? Were her parents serious or were they funny? And then I asked what was her name. Nobody knew. And this little picture of this girl with the pom-poms stayed in my mind. When I was in 6th grade, my mom and I attended the Diary of Anne Frank at the Court Theater in New York. I still remember the head of the leaders of the cast. Billy Perkins played Anne Frank and Joseph Schildkraut played her father. I had been to other Broadway shows, but this one just seemed special. I ordered my favorite, we went afterwards, we went to Farm Foods, which was a vegetarian kosher restaurant, and I ordered my favorite vegetable loaf, because I was one of those kids who loved her veggies. And of course, it was a special place to us, because my dad proposed to my mother there. And I would sit there and eat my veggie loaf, and the bread smothered with butter, and try and picture my dad actually proposing to my mom. At the restaurant, Mom and I talked a bit about the Holocaust. She explained that it was so difficult for my dad to talk, and we would just have to give him time and let him talk about it when he was ready. That evening, when he got home from work, he brought me a copy of the paperback version of the Diary of Anne Frank. And as I read it, I began to understand the trauma that my dad survived. As young as I was, I understood he felt helpless. His family was murdered. He felt tremendous guilt that he was able to get out and survive, but he couldn't save them. The missing pieces of my family's puzzle suddenly started to come together. As my dad got older, he opened up a bit more, and he passed away, sadly, on September 25th, 1976, and is buried at Cedar Park Cemetery, New Jersey. Well, about 15 years ago, I was in my office and I was reading a newspaper that I got from the school library called the New York Jewish Week. And I was shocked to see a front page story right beneath the fold about an organization called the Zombrow Society, a group of descendants from my father's hometown in Poland. I contacted them, went to a meeting. I brought my mom, my brother came, a cousin of mine came. It was at a kosher restaurant, of course, with my family in Brooklyn. And while I expected to see a bunch of old, very old people there, I was so surprised to see people who were younger than I was, the children, the grandchildren, probably some great-grandchildren, because some brought their babies, of the descendants of Zombrow, Poland. I came back regularly to those meetings, and I thought perhaps being remembered by your descendants who are living creative and meaningful lives is a real victory for the people of Zombrow. My grandparents, my dad's brother Benjamin, his brother Chaim, and his sister Rachel, and my nameless little cousin in the pom-pom jacket. These people never had funerals, they never had proper burials, there are no gravestones for them. I learned about life in Poland before the Holocaust, and I came to understand the depths of fear that my father lived with as a child. Becoming part of this organization, for me, felt like fitting the final piece of the puzzle into place. It was central to comprehending my dad's life, understanding his hesitancy to speak, and above all, appreciating the incredible life he was able to build for us here in America.
Everybody. These are powerful stories. Amazing. Our last storyteller is Dan Jackson. When he's not telling stories, Dan enjoys traveling and dreaming about the next place in the world that he can visit. He's actually going to South Africa next week. He has lived on 4 continents. Is that really true? 4 continents, wow. And he has learned to speak many languages over the years. Dan says that it's these experiences, getting to know different cultures, that has really helped him and shaped his career. He is a licensed social worker and he works at Doroth, Westchester. It has truly been a pleasure for me getting to know Dan and working with him on his story through this project. Welcome, Dan Jackson.
Standing on the subway platform, I feel the pulse of the rush hour crowd waiting for the next downtown A train. I am a world away from the small farm in the Midwest where I grew up. Colorful blend of humanity surrounds me as I head to the theater district to see a Broadway show. But how did I get here? My roots are rural. Born and raised in the Midwest, my family was close. Values such as kindness, compassion, and care were woven into my character by the example of my parents and those around me. My dad was a construction worker by day and a farmer by any available daylight hours after that. Hard work was expected, but also appreciated. My mom was a full-time homemaker, raising 4 kids and keeping us all healthy and happy. And yet, as early as I can remember, I knew I was different. So I tried to fit in. I was a good student, did well in school, and stayed busy with lots of extracurricular activities. College was my time to discover who I was in ways more than just academics. I explored my spirituality and immersed myself in a campus ministry that stressed social justice and doing good works. Spent a summer overseas in the Philippines, and for a farm kid raised in a semi-sheltered home, that was an eye-opening experience that helped shape the course of my future. I experienced entire communities that lived on the huge garbage dump outside of Manila. I worked in an orphanage for homeless street kids. This experience fueled a desire in me to help others, but I still felt like I didn't quite fit in. After graduating from that university in the Midwest, I moved to the West Coast and pursued a Bachelor of Theology degree at a Bible college. It was a time of great inward reflection, a time for me to examine who I was and what I believed, and to wrestle with all the inner conflicts that I tried so hard to keep inside. Professionally, I excelled in the corporate world doing graphic design and eventually started my own business, freelancing out of my home. I balanced a full-time job with a full schedule of volunteerism on the side. And my life professionally was very fulfilling. But I was very tired of hiding. I was 40. I was single. And I was gay. Because of my upbringing and my history, I did what was expected of me. I enrolled in an ex-gay course at my church, where they tried to deprogram me and teach me how to be straight, how to fit in, be normal. And through many intense weekly meetings, I realized I had to make a decision. I was gay. I knew I had to fully accept myself. I was ready to come out of the closet. This decision remains one of the most difficult of my life, as it went against so many of the things that I was taught to believe and cut me off from so many of my friendships. I experienced rejection and disappointment and lots of heartache. When my best friend found out, he said to me, "I would rather have heard that you were killed in a car accident, because then at least I would know you're in heaven." But I also experienced the love and compassion of new relationships and friends who stood with me through the struggles. It was actually a life-saving change. I realized that I had been looking at the world through a rather narrow perspective. No longer strictly black and white, gray was now an acceptable hue in my outlook on life. I could relate to people with struggles. I could extend a hand of compassion and empathy. And probably most importantly, I could accept myself for who I am. My horizon is broader now. Life has introduced me to new experiences, and change continues to happen. including a move from the West Coast to the East Coast, and going back to school to do a late in life career shift from graphic design to social work. But change has always been a part of my life, and it still is, and that will always be a part of me. And some change is good, but there's things that still remain the same. I'll always be that farm kid from Iowa with Midwest work ethic and traditional values. Be nice, do good, love others. So I'm standing on that subway platform, waiting for that A train, and I look over at my niece, who's in the city for a conference, and going to that Broadway show with me. And as the train pulls into the station and we get on together, I smile. Because the family that struggled with me being gay now accepts me just as I am.
These stories a million times, and I am a wreck. Let's hear it for these storytellers. Oh my God. You know what? I think is there a microphone on? Oh, there, thank you. Wow, these storytellers today are something else. I just want to say to all of you, the storytellers, I hope you could feel the love in this room for each and every one of you as you were speaking. I mean, the power of the words and the power of your stories. We all really did go on a journey with each one of you today. And I want to thank each of you for taking us there. Ooh. And, you know, sharing, I don't know, what is that?
You can just turn it off.
Turn it off. I hope each of you, the storytellers, not only felt the love in the room, but you were able to take a step back and really feel how meaningful these experiences were in your lives and how much they added to our lives today and allowed us to take a walk in your shoes. Because I'm sure for some of us in this room, hearing those experiences from you make us feel like, wow, she felt that too? I felt like that before. Because that's what storytelling can do. They make us feel not so alone in our feelings and make us all feel connected. And I just want to congratulate each and every one of you for going above and beyond with that today. And I want to invite all of the storytellers to come up here for one photo and one bow together, if that's possible. Can we all come up and take a group photo and a bow together? Incredible job, everybody.